Hello guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be looking at a game that I came across as I was going through the games that were played in the Mombasa Open. So this game was played between Majur Manyang and Panchol Madol. It was during the Mombasa Open on 22nd. It was round 6, and what a brilliant game this was. I mean, I didn't even have the right words to put as the description for this video, because it's insanely great how this game or how this game went down, and it's actually crazy to me that it didn't really get the publicity that it deserved. So here we are, and we're going to analyze the game. So the game started with pawn to e4. Panchol replied with the Scandinavian. Queen takes on d5. Knight to c3, and the queen went back to d8. Pawn to d4, just taking control of the center, trying to create something. Pawn to e6, knight to f3, knight to f6, pawn to bishop to g5 rather, bishop to e7, bishop e3, castles, and now queen to e2. Preparing to castle queenside, launch a kingside attack, as Panchol is going to focus all his attack on the queenside. The usual as what happens when people castle on opposite sides of the board. So knight bd7, just completing development, trying to complete development rather as fast as possible. Also preparing some c6 b5 ideas, maybe rook b8, pushing that b5 pawn down to b4, just trying to open up the position on the queen side. Also bringing some extra defense to the knight on f6, the usual things. And now pawn to h4, pawn to c6, castles, and now pawn to b5, continuing with the plan. And now knight to e4. Panchol refrained from trading and played his knight to d5, and Peter Majur threw the other knight to the center. Here anything is possible, even bishop takes on g5 is possible first, but then you kind of take with the bishop on g5, and after the pawn takes back, you have to be very wary of the pawn on h7. It could become very weak in these lines. What I'm meaning is, if you try and take it to the bishop, then after pawn takes back, you have to watch out the c6 pawn and also the h7 pawn at the same time, because again, the bishop on d3 is staring at h7, the rook is staring at h7. You can even sacrifice the rook on h7, then bring the other rook into the attack, bring your queen to h5. It's crazy position. So you have to be really watchful of the c6 pawn again, because the threat is clear after knight to e5. The threat is clear that you're going after the c6 pawn, and now Panchol is forced to trade at the center, and after pawn takes back, Panchol played pawn to c5. Now this looks like a very good move for black, because as black, what you're trying to achieve is pawn to c4, dislodge the bishop, maybe force a pawn to c3 move, and so trying to create some space for the king to for the bishop to come back to. And it would have been a great move, in all honesty, if white didn't find the only move in this position that wins. I mean, it's an overwhelming advantage. It's actually a winning advantage in this position. Game is completely lost for black. You can try and pause the clock and find the idea, but then the idea is very clear. Knight to f6 rather, with check. So it's crazy that this idea is actually winning, because you look at the position and you think, can't I just grab this knight with any of my pieces? I mean, I'm attacking it with the pawn, I'm attacking it with the bishop, I'm attacking it with the knight, and it's crazy. It's a crazily overwhelming advantage. I mean, taking with the knight, we can try and analyze all these variations, all these ideas to capture it back, and we can start with knight takes on f6, because I don't think anyone will play this. The reason why no one will play this thing is, I know you're seeing that bishop takes on h7 works, but then not in this position, because if bishop takes on h7, knight just takes back, and after you grab the queen and bishop takes and maybe trade the bishops on b8, you look at the position and you see that black has actually three pieces in exchange, let's say these pieces in exchange for the queen. And this position, if not winning for black, could be very much holdable. Black could hold this position forever, and black will play this position forever without making very crazy mistakes or something. But then what you should do instead of taking immediately on h7 is play pawn takes on f6, now removing the defender of the h7 square. And now black doesn't really have many things to play for here. Maybe trying and playing pawn to g6, just stopping the bishop takes on h7 idea, but then we just take on g6. Still, our next idea is to play queen to h5 and threaten checkmate. All at the same time, the queen on d8 is hanging, and black can't really do much to uh, continue having anything in this position. If you don't take, if you don't take this bishop, maybe try anything else, just grab the queen. And the position is so crazy that you don't even really have to play this move bishop takes on g6. We can even take on e7, and we're still completely winning. So knight takes on f6, not playable at all. Let's look at pawn takes on f6. If pawn takes on f6, we have this crazy line with bishop takes on h7. You take back with the king, we bring our queen to h5, you go back to g7, g8 rather, and now we play bishop to h6. Simple ideas of queen to g4 check and queen to g7 mate. So black can defend this with pawn takes on e5, and you might ask, how does it defend? Because now if you go queen to g4 with check, they can always play their bishop to g5 with check. You still have the advantage, still a winning advantage, but it's not overwhelming. It's not as overwhelming as you had before. Still winning, not going to argue with that, but it's not as crazy as it was before. So we see that the king absolutely cannot take back on h7. So maybe try something like king to g8, but now even pawn takes on f6, and it's still winning. Maybe take on h7 or something, queen to h5 with check. You have to go back, and now something like even queen to h6, I think, is just completely winning, or even bishop to h6 still with the same ideas that we had before. Rook to h3 is always a move, and bring the rook to g3, and this position is also crashing for white. So what else can be played in this position? If g takes, anything, even queen to h5 is still winning. I mean, it's almost as if it's a position that anything, Panchol has an extra piece, but you can't really defend this position. It's completely lost. In this position, you also can't take knight takes on f6, because then bishop takes on h7 just opens up a discovery on the queen, and we end up, material up this position. Now, after knight to f6, bishop takes on f6 is the other move that can be played, which is the move that was played in the game, but it's still completely winning for white, because pawn takes on f6, and what are you really going to do? Pawn to g6 maybe. And now, as crazy as it sounds, bishop takes on g7 is also very much playable in this position. You can't really do anything, because then queen to h5 is coming, and if you decide to grab the bishop, then pawn to h5 is just completely winning still. We're going to take back, and after you take, we're going to play our pawn to f7. If you do nothing, we're going to take, or even play queen to e4 before taking back. And now nasty things are going to happen in this position. You're not going to be able to defend everything. So after pawn takes and pawn to g6, the idea is to also sacrifice the bishop, but then Peter Majur went for pawn to h5, which is also I think this is the top Indian recommendation. Also completely winning. Very strong move. The threat is h takes on g6, and you can't really take with the f pawn, because then anything I think is winning. Even bishop takes on g6 at that point. What I mean is, after pawn takes, let's say he plays something like queen to g6, queen to b6 for the sake of analysis. We take back, and if you take back like this, you can even play bishop takes, I think, or even something like I think bishop takes is right, or even queen to f3 with queen to h3. Anything in this position I think is just winning. Even bishop to h6, then bishop to g7, and now rook to h8 with mate. Anything in this position is just winning for white. So after pawn to h5, what Panchol ended up playing was queen to a5, trying maybe to get out of that file, trying to get out of that diagonal where the bishop on g5 is sitting, because then after we take back and maybe sacrifice a bishop on g6, we are going to have this opportunity to play pawn to f7 check with a discovery on the queen and win it. And maybe Panchol just moved out of the way of that f7 move that was going to open up a discovery on the queen. Also, maybe he's trying to launch some counterplay, but this position counterplay is just non-existent. You can't really do anything. You're at the mercies of white. And now Peter Majur played pawn takes on g6. So pawn takes on g6. F takes back, and now rook takes on h7. So the idea is pretty simple. You can't really take back, because then queen to h5, then king has to go back to g7, g8 rather. I don't see if there's any other square, and after this check, and maybe king goes, not maybe, this is the only move, king to h8, and now everything is mate. Rook to h1 is mate, queen to g7 is mate, queen to h8 h7 rather is mate. Everything in this position is mate, and you can't really avoid any of that. So instead, after rook takes on f7, rook takes on h7, Panchol played rook to f7, but this does nothing to the position, doesn't save him in any way, because then bishop takes on g6, and it's simultaneously attacking the rook while also defending the rook on h7. And here, if you decide to trade, and after takes, and maybe king takes on h7, again, this is just a threat of, this is a very huge threat of mate, and you can't really defend against it. And now Panchol played rook takes on f6, which is, I think, a resignation move, because after queen to h5, this is the point where Panchol Madol agreed, actually resigned. I meant to say agreed to a draw, I don't know why, but this is the position he's in, because there's nothing else like going on in this position. It's a mate in 2. If you fight really hard, maybe mate in 3, but those are the moves we don't really need to show, because they're just losing moves. There's nothing they're changing in the position. It's still going to be a checkmate. So it's insane that this game never got the publicity that it deserved. It's an insane game. It's crazy that it was played. I mean, I'm going to put the PGN in the description, and along with it is going to be the article from Kenya Chess Masala that did a report on what happened in the tournament. And it's crazy that this game did. I mean, what a game! It's crazy to see that these games are being played in Kenya, and I hopefully they get the attention they deserve. So Peter Majur went on to win the tournament deservedly. After playing such a game, I think these South Sudanese guys are just different breed. These guys are crazy. So yeah, this was the game. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment on what you need to improve on, and remember to share this video to your friends. And just check out the PGN if you didn't find this satisfying enough. You can take the PGN and just analyze it for yourself. It's crazy. This is a crazy game. And yeah, I hope you had fun. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and have an excellent rest of your week.